Oh my goodness, here we go. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year! 2021! We made it.
I don't think the last year happened.
Yeah, that's what you're doing. We're just erasing it out of history.
Yeah, I remember 2019.
Okay. That's your wellness strategy for 2021, right? Just eliminating 2020 altogether.
Wait a minute. That number is hard. I can't even grasp it. Now, hello, welcome everybody to Entrepreneur Meal Plan Review, the first one of this new year. It is your host, Chauncey, here with the amazing chef and entrepreneur whisperer,
Ooh.
Brandy.
Hey,
Chef Brandy,
everybody.
how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited about this year.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? We start a new year. We always look forward to all of the great things. And hopefully, the fruits of our labor from 2019 will now lead to 2021. Because that there's a missing year. I just can't grasp it. Now, with that said, we are joined off cam by the amazing EMP Drea. So check out what's going on there in the comments, in the chats, wherever you're coming from. And as we roll through everybody, talk to us in these chats. If you have questions, let us know. Whatever it is, that's what we're here for. On topic, off topic. Brandy will have something to say.
It's just a gumbo of information over here.
A gumbo. I like that. Very good. So speaking of gumbo, Brandy, the EMP gumbo is available via membership. Mm-hmm. But tell us, how can we become an EMP member? What does that mean? All of that good stuff.
Yeah, so Entrepreneur Meal Plan, also known as EMP, is a community for entrepreneurs looking to do business and life well. So we're talking about what are the ingredients in this gumbo membership that we have here. What we do is we offer bi-weekly meal plans, which include recipes, shopping lists, and like a meal plan structure to suggest like when you actually eat this stuff. There's also these amazing weekly reviews where you get an opportunity to hang out with me, Chauncey, Drea, and other members of the community in the chat and ask us any questions and learn a skill that's going to make plant-based living, integrating it into your life so much easier. There's also a resource center for entrepreneurs who are trying to figure out more efficient ways to run their business and seeking that $250,000 a year annual revenue goal. In addition to just a bunch of really cool events and just vibes from the people that exist in this space.
Yeah. So in addition to these reviews that we do every Wednesday, you have your vibes that come up. Also, there is a special event coming up you're going to tell us about at the end. Yeah. Looking forward to that. But January, did you rename this or is this real?
It's
Kale-uary?
Kale-uary. Now listen, if you are the originator of Kale-uary, I did not Google to see, but when I was putting together the month, I was trying to figure out a cool way to integrate the name, and I'm like, oh, Kale-uary, that seems right. Now somebody else may own it, so if you do, I'll give you your credit. We'll give you your credit on the back end.
Can you tell us what is the big deal about kale? Because I've had it. So what is the big deal about kale?
So, kale rose to the top during the superfood identification era. Like, for some reason, people decided that they wanted
Can I pause you, Brandy? I'm sorry, because you said it. Can you break down for us what's a superfood? Does it matter? Where did this come from? Please tell us.
So this is the Brandy theory around superfoods. I'll give the disclaimer. Superfoods were something that, people went out into the world and discovered that there were these foods that had these benefits, i.e. plants. And they were trying to figure out ways for people to put more of them into their diet when people were, consuming. I think this was like right off of the heels of like the Atkins craze where everybody was like having a bunch of meat and cheese and stuff like that. And though they may have lost weight, which happens, their internal, numbers, stats, organs were all kind of jacked up. So the next phase of that of the world, like of the trend, was like, oh, we gotta figure out like what are some ways that people can kind of still eat that way, but like infuse some good nutrients into their body. Hence the superfoods was this list of foods, right, that was identified to, they just had like higher levels of nutrients, minerals, vitamins, than one plant that, might have 1,000% vitamin C versus another one that has 900% vitamin C. And I'm not sure exactly what the scale was, how we determined like how did we get the superfood title. I also think superfoods have a lot to do with this idea of not only identifying like superfoods and like, I want to say like, I guess the American diet, but these foods that we found in other countries that you don't necessarily eat often, like the goji berry. Like nobody knew about the goji berry, right? Some dude went to the Amazon, found goji berries, wanted to sell them in a bar, decided to figure out a way to make them superfoods, and hence, now everybody needs a goji berry. So that's my rant about superfoods. I think all plants are superfoods, but that's just me.
Exactly. So, kale. Go ahead. Tell us about the kale.
Yes, good old kale. So the reason I thought kale was going to be how we kick off the year is because January is all about, and especially now as we're like going into, this next phase of the year, people are still trying to figure out immunity boosting, right? Like how do we keep our immunity high? And a lot of times when we think about vitamin C, we think about oranges, right? But kale has a really excellent source of vitamin C. Now, personally, I think kale's a little overrated, just in my own personal opinion from a culinary standpoint, a little overrated. But I want to kind of help us incorporate kale into our diet in different ways other than a raw salad or a chip.
Yeah. And kale is not best raw anyway. Please help me, somebody. Now,
it needs to work raw.
I'm sorry. Now, there are people who love kale, and great. I'm cool with it if it's prepared well. And Brandy, are there any other kinds of leafy greens or maybe cruciferous vegetables that we can treat like kale where we could substitute if we wanted to?
I mean, I would probably go with broccoli, which is, I'll go with broccoli. I personally like bitter. I know people are very against bitter sometimes, but bitter herbs actually have a ton of herbs, and vegetables have a lot of nutrients in them. So I like mustard greens. I know mustard greens are an acquired taste. So what you could do is mix them with another like green. Like growing up, my grandma would always mix greens. It would be like kale, collard. I don't think I ever had any green individually except collard greens. Every other time I had them, they would mix. So that's a way to like incorporate them into the diet.
Excellent. Yeah. And look, you can always throw some spinach in it.
Oh, well, right. Good old spinach. I forget about spinach. Yeah, I love spinach. I think it's a super.
Yeah. See, the superfood thing, everybody, as Brandy was saying, in such a wonderfully inclusive and embracive way, it really is just, if you eat a plant that you haven't tortured, you haven't just, overly processed, it's going to be a superfood. This is all a marketing stunt. That's really what it is when they talk about superfoods. Any plant will do it, even the humble white potato.
Yeah.
When it comes to vitamin C, people don't even know, Brandy, that white potatoes have a lot of vitamin C.
That is so true.
Anyway. So you have for us prepared kale salad with sauteed peppers and mushrooms and garlic balsamic dressing.
Yes, I'm going to show you guys how to whip this up in like 10 minutes. It's amazing.
10 minutes, I'm going to time you. Okay. All right, so Brandy, go ahead, get set up to show us that wonderful thing. And everybody, remember, if you have questions, you have comments, let us know at any time. All right, Brandy, we'll see you on the flip side.
All right. right, so I am back and I'm going to show you how to make this really fun kale salad. So literally, we got 3 additions that I'm going to add to this salad. I'm going to do a yellow pepper that I already prepared, a couple of mushrooms for some fun like umami flavor, and just so I can talk about how to prepare mushrooms, which is a huge part of the plant-based diet, and the good old onion, because I think this year's mission is going to be to help people cut onions properly. And I'll talk about the kale after the fact. So I'm going to actually start by just dropping these yellow peppers right into a pan that is heated behind me on medium, right? So we're going to talk through this onion. So we got the good old onion. You want to cut an onion from top to bottom. This is your bottom. This is your top. You want to hold it and cut it right there. Now, you keep these little things on the end because this is your guide. This is going to make sure that the onion does not fall apart. Cut the front off, and then we're going to peel off the skin. Right, good old onion. Now, this skin is not to be wasted, okay? This is some skin that you can use for your stock bag. So what I like to do is put all of my ends of different vegetables into a bag, drop them into the freezer, and then when I'm ready, I have enough, I make a homemade stock. So this goes into that bag. Now, just a little tip. If you're cutting onions for raw usage, you want to cut them from front to back. And if you're cutting them for saute usage or cook usage, you're going to cut them from left to right. So that's just a little tip. Now, you want to use your lines when you are cooking, cutting vegetables. It's going to help prepare. So as you see, I'm cutting these lines inside, straight back, and then I'm going to cut them down the top. And I'm keeping these a little bigger than usual because I want them to show up in the salad. Now, if I wanted them to be smaller, what I would do is I would cut more lines with less space in between, right? But that preparation allowed me to now go through like this and end up with these really nice, evenly cut onions that don't make me cry and just really cut my preparation time down a lot. So I'm gonna take a half an onion, and I like onions. I feel like onions are just a nice, good flavor foundation for almost any dish. And like we talked earlier about kale not necessarily being the best tasting of the greens. I think it's one of the less bitter ones though, but it doesn't taste that great. One little tip about how to make raw kale taste better is to treat it with a fat or an acid, right? So massage your green. If you massage your green with a piece of avocado, kale green with a piece of avocado, or if you massage it with a little bit of lemon juice or vinegar, it is going to help to kind of break it down in a similar way that you would like cure salmon. So it's like a cooking process that's not super aggressive, and it starts to break it down, and that tends to make kale salads more palatable. So that's just a little tip if you are trying to figure out a way to add more kale to your diet, but you're really not into just the texture of kale. Also, the avocado gives that the creaminess, and the fat is always nice. People like that feel in their mouth. The lemon gives it a nice brightness to it and does the same thing. So that's 2 options. If you're trying to cut down on fat, you want to go with that lemon. If you don't give a crap about fat, then you can go with the avocado. If you want to get really fancy, you can put both of them together, and you get the best of both worlds. So I just sliced these mushrooms. If you guys have been at an EMP review, you know I love mushrooms. Now, there are people in this world, I don't understand it, but they don't like mushrooms. So if you happen to be one of those people that do not like mushrooms, what I would recommend to you for this particular salad is to go with a chickpea. I'm just adding the mushrooms in for some texture. Chickpea will happen to make that happen. So literally right now, I'm just letting the onions, the peppers, and what is this? The onions, the peppers, and the mushrooms cook up behind me. This is kale. And this is kale from the bag. Okay, we're not
we're not working that hard. I'm not cutting kale. Now, if you're one of those people that have kale fresh and you want to cut it, highly recommend just getting some kale. Now, I got this kale from Aldi's. Aldi's is a grocery store based in Germany, now in the United States. And a fun fact about Aldi that most people don't know is that Aldi's has two locations in the like internationally, right? So they have a brand that is red and white, and they have a brand that is orange and blue. And the orange and blue brand is owned by two brothers, right? And the orange and blue brand, the brothers did not want to sell the same things. They wanted one of them wanted to have like alcohol in it, and the other one didn't want to have alcohol in it. So they literally ended up with two separate stores. But when that store came to the United States, the red and white brand actually is Trader Joe's. So that's interesting. I thought that was really interesting. Random fun fact that I learned just from consuming information. So just sharing that with you. I know some people are familiar with Aldi's and the brand, and they're not necessarily sure like what it is. There's no name brands. What is this stuff? Oh my goodness, is it good food? Listen, it's food. This bag of kale, this is organic kale. This is how many ounces? 12 ounces. I got this for $2.89. Literally. Organic kale, $2.89. Now, does it who cares that it's simply natural and not, I don't know, green giant? If they even make organic kale. But yeah. So just a tip, saving money. Explore Aldi. I like that place. I like that place a lot. So I'm smelling these onions and mushrooms and peppers behind me. It's getting very, very nice in here. I wish smell-o-vision was a thing. Maybe it'll come eventually. So yeah. So I'm just gonna rinse off this kale. Cool. Now, I don't know about you guys, but growing up for me, like onions, onions was a food group. So I feel like, without the onion, like is the dish even done? I don't know. Um, but yeah, and peppers is one thing too. Like green peppers, I know growing up, green peppers was a pepper that always showed up, and I really wasn't a fan of them. So I got really excited when I started seeing other peppers show up, like red and orange and yellow. And these other peppers, the reds, the oranges, the yellows, they offer up a nice sweetness that I feel that the green pepper does not bring to a dish. The green pepper is a little more grounded and earthy and not as light. So if you are looking for um, something that is a little sweeter in the pepper division, I would try to go outside of the green family. So I'm just going to bring over the pot that I have been cooking these veggies in, and I'm just sauteing them um, lightly. I'm going to put a little bit of balsamic vinegar in here. Just want to pull all of that good yumminess from the bottom of a pan. So this is oil-free cooking, FYI. And I know some people are like, oil-free? How do you cook with no oil? When I was growing up, somebody told me I had to put oil in a pan and then put stuff into it. You don't really need to do that. You just heat the pan properly, put your stuff into it, put your food into it, and it's still going to do what it needs to do. This week I'm not focusing on the browning, but there's a ton of videos in the membership that goes into like watching me do brown things in an oil-free pan. And throughout the Caluary, we'll also have a couple of dishes where you will see the browning technique, so you can see that you don't need the oil. But put this in. I used a little bit of balsamic vinegar to just like get everything off of the bottom, because I did get some caramelization on some of these onions, if you guys could see. And I'm throwing some garlic in because I just like garlic. It has, of course, medicinal purposes. Now, I am going to put this kale on top, put this back on the stove, and just let it cook down just until it's like warm and like it doesn't even like wilt. The goal is really just to get the chill off and kind of break down the leaf just a little bit. So yeah. So warm salad. This idea of a warm salad, I cannot remember what restaurant I was in when I first experienced a warm salad. But I remember when I had it, I was like, oh, this is super, super cool. Because for me, I always think about salads as something that's cold. And it was the dressing, because they didn't do the leaves. The leaves were not warm, but the dressing was warm. And it was something about that, like, warm drizzle of whatever the heck that was on the salad that just, I don't know, it just kind of changed my life and expanded my salad horizon. So if you have never considered a warm salad, like, give it a try. It's actually pretty fun. Pretty fun. So yeah, I am at the tail end of this salad now. Chauncey's gonna let me know when I get back if we are within that 10-minute range, even though I think I should get a slight grace period because I did teach about the proper cutting of an onion, but we will see if I need to take advantage of that when I get back over there. So see how this salad just kind of, the greens just kind of got a little like brighter. They broke down just a little bit. And now I'm going to take this and put it into this bowl. We get all of this yumminess, super simple salad, and I am going to add to the top just a little bit of sun-dried tomatoes. First off, I have some sun-dried tomatoes that I want to use. Second off, I really like sun-dried tomatoes, so I'm gonna just rough chop a couple, put some on top. Sun-dried tomatoes also add a saltiness, and if you notice, I actually did not put any salt into this dish at all. So I'm gonna get my salt from these yummy sun-dried tomatoes that also add a little bit of color to this dish too. And break up just a little more, just to throw around, and then I'm going to put some fresh black pepper on top because it's something about the combo of salt and pepper. So if I'm going to add the salt note, I want to add the pepper note to round it out. And because I feel like, just a fun play on cheese, and this dish feels like it would be really cool with cheese, but since we're not using cheese, I'm going to throw a little bit of nutritional yeast on there, which is also going to give us a little nuttiness and a little bit of salt as well. So there you have it, a warm kale salad to kick off Kale-uary. I will see you guys shortly.
All right. Now, Brandy, I got to tell you, that salad looked delicious. When you were making it, I was like, tomatoes. And then you put the sun-dried tomatoes. See, you are in my head.
Asking
and
I receive.
And I do like nutritional yeast on salad as well. I think it's a great combination. So let's roll through. Remember, questions, comments. Let us know, everybody. Here's the thing. First question, Brandy. You mentioned, hey, don't throw away the peel from the onion. Put it in a stock bag. Can you just explain what's the big deal about stock? Why is stock so important?
So it's, number number one, there are lots of nutrients that we can get from vegetables, pieces of vegetables that we just kind of throw away. So stock is first an opportunity for us to extract some of those nutrients out and then kind of consume them in a liquid form. Now, in addition to that, there's also a flavor benefit that you get from stock. Like if you notice in life, there's a meme going around that really makes me happy right now that says that people always say they don't like vegetables, however, they use them to season their meat. And so, like at the end of the day, we use vegetables to add flavor. So a lot of times when people are transitioning or figuring out how to incorporate more plant-based foods into their diet, the flavor challenge is tough. It's like, oh, this is bland. Like usually when I make my rice, I put bacon grease in it. Usually when I make my pasta, I put cheese and ground beef on it. But if you think about those things that actually gave these meats a flavor, it usually comes from vegetables. So that is the benefit of stock: nutrient and flavor to food.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned avocado with the kale. If you want something more flavorful than an avocado, because I know people love avocado, that it tastes like water. I mean, you just look, it tastes like water. You can say whatever you want. Guacamole is not an avocado. They add things to it. So if you want something that has more flavor, what could you substitute for the avocado? What do you think, Brandy?
The next best thing for me when we're talking about, like, if we're talking about that fat thing that we're trying to, fat versus acid, my only go-to for that would be tahini, because the other option is coconut oil. And I we try to stay away from oil, and then the coconut flavor would just take over. So that would just be weird. So I would, my next go-to would be tahini.
Excellent. Now, well, what about nutritional yeast? Can we use something instead of that as well?
So nutritional yeast, there's not a real substitute, so to say. So my best recommendation would be a seed or a nut. So I would probably like crunch up like a hemp seed and like a walnut or something like that to kind of maybe create what the nutritional yeast does. But that would only work, and this is a theory. I'm like in a salad. I don't know if you'll be able to do that to recreate like that cheesiness that nutritional yeast does, but it's worth a try.
You know what? Actually, that's exactly what I thought of, to be honest. So maybe I'm learning something. Now, EMP Dre is also saying instead of the avocado, hummus.
Yeah, the chickpea. Yeah. The thing with the hummus is that I don't know if there's enough fat in the chickpea, but you might be able to pull the that tahini, that fat from the tahini might do it. So hummus actually is a great option. And you talk about flavor, so that's great. Hummus tends to come with the lemon, the cumin, the salt, the tahini. So yeah, I like the idea of hummus.
And normally that's what I prefer to guacamole. Y'all can come. That's okay. I understand.
I understand. Have you ever had my guacamole?
It doesn't matter. Here's the point, Brandy. Let me tell you.
You know, there's always somebody who goes, "Oh, you don't like that? Have you ever had my?"
It's not that I dislike it. I wouldn't say I dislike it. It's that if I'm gonna have something that has that many calories in it, I'm sorry, it's very calorie dense. It better be worth it. It's not like having a chocolate chip cookie. It's some watery guacamole. Like, it's fine. I would rather have salsa. I would rather have hummus. I could combine the two and knock guacamole out of the water. Pun intended. Now,
I mean, that's a fair argument. I mean, especially because you also, like, I think you have these childhood memories that I also have of guacamole at like the Mexican restaurant that you went to with your family, and they just had this green glop on the side of your plate, and you were like, "What is this?" And they called it guacamole, and you're like, "Okay, whatever this is, I'm not interested," right? But then you go to like a Mexican restaurant in Midtown, and these people bring out this big mortar and pestle, and they're hand cutting avocados, and they're putting in cilantro and lime and jalapenos and chopped tomatoes. And then you're like, now what is this? Like, oh, this is guacamole. So I think you may be traumatized from that Glock that we used to get growing up.
I'm not experiencing trauma. No, and you know what? Because I used to be an actor, Brandon, you know this.
Yes.
And on my first tour of the country, we went to Texas, and they had warm tortilla chips with guacamole with salsa. I liked it better with the salsa. The guacamole was good. I'll take the salsa. But that is one way. If you want to know if a Mexican restaurant is up to snuff, do you get warm tortilla chips for free? Anyway, speaking of tortilla chips, why go oil-free, Brandy? You slip that in there. You try to sneak in and sneak out and say, I'm not using oil. What's the point? Why can't I just use oil?
I mean, you can. That's a personal choice, right? But for me, it doesn't make sense. It's the most calorie dense item, right, that we could possibly put into our bodies. And
what's the issue with calorie density? I know I say it all the time. Can you explain why we have to be careful with that?
I think you explain it better, so I'm going to punt that to you, actually.
How dare you? How dare you? Yeah, the whole point of calorie density is this. Everybody is terrible at counting calories. We are not created for that. We're not good at it. Even experts, I've said it before, Brandy, when they've studied experts, nutritionists, they had them try to approximate calories in dishes, and they were around 30% off. Now, 30% off is huge. Huge. So meaning they could say it's 1,000 calories, it's really 1,300. No.
Yeah, and
no.
plays a role in that, because people don't realize how much like, first off, people always say a drizzle. I love when people say a drizzle of oil, and then it's literally like a half a cup. Like, I mean, I'm just like, what drizzle is this? So I think that, like you say, people don't take into account how many calories exist in a serving of oil. And to be quite honest, like, I had a meeting earlier today prepping for the surprise cooking demo that we're going to talk about later in the show. And I was like, when have you ever put something in your mouth and said, man, this is good, I just need a little more oil? Never. Never. Like, you may say, I may need a little more spice, I may need a little more salt. No one's like, dang, if I just had a little extra virgin olive oil, dang, if I just had a little bit more canola, this would have just took it up a lot. No, we've never done that. So
give me that nasty palm oil. Where's that?
Yeah, let me get some cottonseed oil. Nobody is thinking about it. Nobody. And so, like, and I get it. Like, I grew up too, where you put oil in the bottom of a pan, and psychologically you think that that's so that you can brown your food. We get it. But you don't need to brown. You don't need it. The hot pan is what browns the food.
Exactly. And to piggyback off of that and expand it, so the whole point, everybody, about calorie density is, if you eat foods that are at a low enough calorie density, but not too low, because if you go too low, you will fill up but be unsatisfied. Like, if you eat that salad Brandy made all day long, you could fill up if you ate enough of it, but you wouldn't get enough calories. Your body would know. So you want to have the right level of calorie density. But if you go too high, what's going to happen is your body won't be able to know that it's gotten so many calories. It won't fill up the stomach as well. And you can even look online for illustrations of stomachs and the same amount of calories that go in. And for oil, it's barely in there. And you can't even stuff in a salad. Potatoes don't even really fill up the stomach for the same amount of calories. So we have to be very careful. The whole point is, you don't want to have to count calories to maintain weight. You want to go through calorie density. And if you add oil to anything, it automatically ups your calorie density. You're automatically adding pounds. Now, whether that matters or not is up to you. But if you're eating oil and you cut out oil, leave everything else the same, you will automatically lose weight.
Automatically. Because it's calories it's mathematic, like it's scientific, right? They say 30 is
But wait a
500.
minute, isn't it magical? Isn't it my, my genetics and when it comes to my metabolism, and now we have metabolic syndrome and all of this other stuff. A calorie isn't a calorie, right, Brandy? What are you talking about?
Are we kicking off 2021 all like turned up? That's what we're doing this year.
Look, we have to bust myths.
Oh no, guys, it's scientific. 3,500 calories equals 1 pound. That's what it is. That is the science. That's mathematical. What does that
Can you
mean?
explain? Because wait a minute, people will be like, I ate this one day and I got on the scale and I was 5 pounds more, or I didn't eat this and then the next day I was 5 pounds lighter.
Yeah, well, you got to take into consideration water weight. There's certain things that you have that you put in your body. Salt is one of them that it help you retain water. So you got to take those things into consideration. Hence the reason we also try to talk about having low salt in your diet too. Not in addition to no oil, like low salt and no added sugar. Low added sugar. I mean, so whatever. Holiday season, we definitely had some added sugar. Trust and believe, I had. I definitely had some added sugar. But generally speaking, we want to keep it pretty low. So it's like if you weigh yourself every day, it's number one, it's insane. No, don't do that. Give your body time to recalibrate. Because you're gonna fluctuate. And if you're a female, like you definitely is you just asking yourself just to be constantly discouraged if you get on a scale every day. Like focus on, like I say, if you take 500 calories a day out of your diet every week, in theory, you should be losing a pound, right? Honestly, a lot of that could be fixed with taking out oil because people you do not realize how much, like I say, and we've all watched cooking shows, I know, and they love to cook it in oil and then finish it with a drizzle. You just literally added like 600 calories.
Yeah, without even thinking about it. And even there, the reason that we know that the calorie matters is if they take these people who say, oh, not for me, it doesn't work, and put them in a ward where they don't prepare their meals. Scientists do. They already know exactly how many calories are in there, not from approximation, but from scientific methods, and give them that. They lose weight or they gain weight. It is no exception. Now, of course, there are individual differences.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But also what you said, Brownie, is so important about the scale. There is no way that you are losing 5 pounds in a day unless you have cut 3,500 times 5 calories out of your diet. It didn't happen. And like you said, there's water weight. There's also muscle. There's also bone.
Yes.
There are all kinds of things that go into it. Okay, I'm done with that now. I enjoyed that though, Brandy. Thank you for going there.
I think if I punted it to you, we would end up somewhere fun.
So before we talk about this upcoming event that you're going to have that I'm excited about, one more question about the wonderful dish you made. What about caramelized onions? What do you think about that?
I love caramelized onions. Now, you challenged me to a 10-minute salad, so you can't really caramelize them.
Oh, by the way, I will give you your props. You did very well teaching and cooking. No complaints there. Thank you for that.
Thank you. So caramelized onions, hands down, would be like a great thing. Like if I wanted to kind of baby the onions a little bit, totally caramelize. And then if you were going to caramelize them, I would recommend you cut them a little thinner. And I would probably just cut like thin half moon, so to say, versus the dice method. Because I just love when caramelized, like the small dices kind of dissolve because they caramelize and then they get soft and they kind of like disintegrate. I mean, which is cool depending on what you're doing. But in a salad, if you want to really enjoy them, you want to cut them in slices. Then they caramelize, and then you still have like the strings going through every bite. I like that idea a lot.
Ooh, sounds good. And on that note, something that we're all going to like, Brandy, on the 18th of this month, January 18th, you are going to be involved in a free event.
Yes, I am.
Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so it is actually Martin Luther King Day, and I am going to be doing a webinar about ways that we can, as people of color, use food or plant-based nutrition, as they're calling it, to help us improve our health. It will be me, Dr. Neil Bernard, Dr. Columbus, I can never pronounce his name, Batista?
Yeah.
Batista.
Yeah.
And I will be doing a cooking demo of what I am calling not so dirty rice. So if you want to learn how to make my plant-based version of dirty rice, join me. Dre is going to be dropping the link for registration. This is actually a free event, so it's not going to cost you anything but your time, curiosity, and interest in figuring out how to incorporate more plant-based practices into your life to improve your health.
Now, you just dropped two big names on our heads.
I know.
I don't know if people know. So this is, I mean, those two doctors are huge doctors in the plant-based community, especially. So if you haven't heard of them before, it's an additional incentive. And if you have, you know what the deal is. So I'm looking forward to that, Brandy, on Monday, January 18th. Yes, when we all celebrate Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. So that'll be something to look forward to. And always, to get even more of these kinds of reviews and vibes and events, we want you to join us as an EMP member. And tell us, Brandy, how do we do that again?
Yeah, so the EMP membership, it is literally, you get all of that fun value for only $30.23 a quarter. Literally, we're talking about, what is this, $10.10-ish every month for access to recipes, resources, weekly cooking demos, and Q&As, bonus events that kind of randomly come up with the founder, Brandy, of EMP, and just a lot of just a community of people trying to figure out how do we really power our businesses and make sure that we are taking care of ourselves as we are building our legacy. So we're talking about $30.23 a quarter. That is nothing, guys. And we keep these. We want to keep the prices and good, like good price, good value. Yeah. So there you have it.
Yeah. So like you said, about $10 a month. No big deal there. So excellent with that, Brandy. I think for your warm salad, I think I'm going to mix in some spinach with the kale and just make life even better. And to continue to do that, next week we will be back for our weekly review Wednesday, but it's Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time on the 13th. So hopefully you'll join us then, everybody. And Brandy, take us out.
Yeah, guys. So thanks so much for joining us for the first EMP of 2021, where we are kicking off Kale-uary. Today we did a warm kale salad. Next week we will be doing kale falafels. So join us next week and every week if you want to continue to learn how to do life and business well.
Excellent. So hopefully, again, we'll see all of you there. And we're going to end, Brandy, with a look at that warm salad again.
Ooh.
Bye-bye.